Nigeria's international image in the light of what seems to be going on now. Off the cuff, you may just jump in and say, no, it's not good, but really, just like every normal research, you come up with a premise. At the end of the day, your answer is different from what you thought initially. Well, this time, Dr. Nweze joins us to take a look at some of these matters. Thank you for coming this morning.
Good morning.
Well, I know from the business standpoint, they will always say, look, capital is a coward. It runs away from where it thinks there's conflict. But Professor Akintayewa says now that, well, actually, some of these countries actually consider 160 million strong by October this year. That's a lot of economic capital, and so we can't do without it. How do we reconcile all of those now?
Now, it's similar to what's going on in China. Mining that the Chinese policies and the government is not democratic and all that, but it's a heavy investment hub for any of those things. But what is profound or prominent in the minds of people, especially the West, is where the money, they follow the money, where the money is. Don't forget that Europe is declining heavily. There's a huge decline in Europe. And Asia, they can go to Asia to invest because Asia is almost as sophisticated. They don't need much of the Western products. And the next destination is Africa. Africa in the sense that we are still, there's a saying that a woman at 18 is like Africa unexplored. And at 60 is like America and Europe overexposed. So Europe is declining. Asia is fast catching on and getting more sophisticated. So the next destination is Africa. And that's why people don't understand why the German Chancellor was here, and a week later, the British Prime Minister was here. All because of interest in Africa. And don't forget that Nigeria is not the biggest economy in Africa. You talk of South Africa, you talk of Egypt, but you find that Egypt is Arabic, and South Africa has European economy. So it's only Nigeria that is center of Africa.
That's the fear there,
Yes.
Dr. Nweze, because I remember my colleague Mark asked Professor Akintayewa, look, we're trying to build this momentum. We're coasting along, and we were going there. First, it started with the debt, which we were able to settle at that point in time, and the image was getting on until we got to see the Abdulmutalab issue, and we got off that list again, and we're still coasting along until Angela Merkel, of course, Cameron came. But with the UN building bombing, all of that, don't you think has turned the tide against us?
Well, in a way, yes. In another way, no. Don't forget that for as long as Nigeria has the market, and investors, yes, they look for stable economies, stable environment.
Tell us about the market. Because
now, the market, what is the trend now is the population. Okay? Every investor looks at, every business, they look at the population and the ability to consume. And Nigeria is that market. And don't forget that Nigeria constitutes, Nigeria's economy constitutes about 79% of the West African economy, West African coasts. So you find that it's a market. We have the economic power that they cannot ignore. Okay, so it's just like they cannot ignore China with the kind of money they have now. So Nigeria's market, and the rate we consume, and we barely manufacture anything.
At what rate? Okay, well, we can say the rate we consume, but I mean, if we were to compare our rates of consumption with the more sophisticated parts of the world, we'll still say, well, we're still not consuming enough, because a host of people will say we don't have the buying power.
Don't forget that. Yes, no, if we say that we don't have the buying power, it might not be absolutely correct, completely correct, let me put it that way. Because one thing is, look around you. All these products, you find cars, for instance, that ordinarily government should not allow such cars to come in but you see them coming in. Even a day a car is released anywhere in the world, it's very likely that you find the first buyer in Nigeria. So you find again that because of the oil money, And this oil money is in the hands of the few people.
Exactly.
It's not even
which is my point. The fact that very little people,
yes,
I mean, very few number of people have this capacity to purchase anything. Unlike in many other economies where people at the bottom go shopping every Saturday, go buying clothes, they're hunting for bargains. I don't really see that happening in Nigeria.
No, but in a way, yes, those at the bottom, you know, they still have their own way of it. That's why some products are made to cover, I mean, to satisfy those at the bottom of the pyramid. And such products, like those at the top, patronize European and American products. Those at the bottom tend to patronize the Chinese and other Asian products. So this is where even most of the imports are coming in from China. Because of what? Affordability. So they're taking care of those at the bottom, while the more sophisticated consumers are looking towards West and Europe and America.
We're trying to do this tit for tat issue with international politics when the new Minister for Foreign Affairs came on, Ambassador Bengashiri. He did say, well, they should treat Nigeria nicely when it comes to issuance of visa. But again, the news reaching us is that, well, for instance, the British High Commission has said it's going to review the way it gives out that to Nigerians. And of course, some of them are already thinking of even relocating to Lagos, leaving Abuja. How does that put us in the public, or rather in the international community, when we're talking about all of these business opportunities that are bound in Nigeria, bringing up investments into the country?
No, don't forget Nigeria's role in Africa. The West seem to be interested. They cannot leave Nigeria alone because of the role Nigeria and what Nigeria stands for in Africa. Now, if anything happens in Nigeria or to Nigeria, it's going to affect Africa. Is in a mess. Because where are you going to put the refugees? Okay? But again, that's why they want to make sure that Nigeria, that we get things right.